What's up, everybody? This is Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, HawgSports.com. Arkansas has a big matchup against number 7 LSU. We're going to take a deep dive into that. Andrew Ellis is going to join us, beat writer with HawgSports.com, covering Arkansas Razorbacks, and Glen West over at Go 24/7 Sports, the beat writer over there for Go 24/7, does a great job. He's going to give us a little bit of insight on the LSU Tigers, and we're going to talk a little bit of basketball, some recruiting as well, but mainly we're going to focus on this because this is your Arkansas versus LSU primer. Everybody knows there's plenty of ways to watch and listen and all that stuff. I'm not going to really get into that because I want to talk about something near and dear to my heart. Trish and Steve Robertson, my in-laws, are going out of business after 42 years. They own Robertson's Fine Jewelry in Little Rock. Some of you are probably familiar with that. And so what does that mean? I just want to pass this on because when you're a jewelry store and you're going out of business, retiring, you got to liquidate everything. So they're doing their first ever sale, and I just want to mention that to everybody. They've got diamonds, 3/4 carat to 6 carats, diamond bracelets, all this stuff. So they're doing this big liquidation sale, engagement liquidation sale until November 13th. That's Sunday. So they're located at Pleasant Ridge Town Center. That's 11525 Cantrell Road, Suite 703 in Little Rock. A lot of you guys are familiar with Pleasant Ridge Town Center. We're getting close to Christmas. It's engagement ring season right now. So this is a huge opportunity for all you guys out there listening. Their hours of operation are Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 6, and Sunday, noon to 5. Okay? I'll even show you this here real quick. But this is a great opportunity. I know a lot of you guys are, maybe thinking about marriage or thinking about what to get your wife for Christmas or something. This is a great deal here.
Robertson's Fine Jewelry Diamond Engagement Ring Blowout ends forever this Sunday, November 13th. Loose diamonds in a variety of cuts and all sizes, engagement rings and diamond bands too, all at liquidation prices. Don't miss the diamond deals of a lifetime.
These folks have served Central Arkansas for 42 years, and it's time to retire. Big liquidation. So go check out Steve and Trish over at Robertson's Fine Jewelry at the Pleasant Ridge Town Center. Again, until November 13th, they're doing this deal. So great opportunity. Touching on a few things here. So we talked about Kavion Henderson a little bit, the 4-star edge rusher who committed to Arkansas. Danny previewed that a little bit. Danny said he liked it. There was a lot of people saying Oklahoma, a lot of people saying Alabama. He's from Leeds, Alabama. But nice pickup, especially when you're talking about defensive linemen because it's so hard to get those guys. So getting a 4-star, nice pickup. This is a guy that Danny really likes. He always talks about he wants to FaceTime him and, instead of just exchange texts and stuff. So Danny's developed a really good relationship with this guy also. 195 ranked overall prospect in the country, number 16 defensive lineman, number 12 overall in Alabama. Had a lot of nice offers. 6'3", 235. I think a guy that'll probably line up like a defensive end for them. Nice pickup. Danny's also got a nice breakdown on the visit list. It's actually a surprisingly good visit list this weekend. I'm actually a little surprised. They've got several 4-star prospects. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 4-star prospects visiting. Dallas Young out at Gardendale, Alabama, who's already committed to Arkansas. They got 2 more in the 25 class, Lance Jackson and Davion Mitchell and Landon Pace. But Jackson and Mitchell are both 4-star recruits. So for an 11 o'clock game, that's a pretty solid group of players coming in. 2 that I want you to focus on, Michael Hawkins and Josh Flowers. Both those guys have been here before. Quarterbacks. So Michael Hawkins is from Allen, Texas. We've talked about him a pretty good bit so far. But a lot of people like him to OU. Other people like him to Arkansas. Those seem to be the 2 teams that are trending most with him. 24/7 Sports has him ranked the 139 overall prospect in the country, number 11 quarterback, not dual threat or pro style or anything like that, but just overall 11 quarterback, number 17 in the state of Texas. So he's coming in again. He's got 1 crystal ball pick to OU right now. Arkansas is right there in the mix for him, obviously, or he wouldn't be visiting. The other guy is Josh Flowers, 6'2", 205 out of Mobile, Alabama, Baker High School. Lists Florida offer, Alabama offer, Arkansas offer. 24/7 Sports ranks him the number 18 quarterback prospect in the country. On the composite, he's number 213 nationally, number 15 quarterback prospect. So Josh Flowers and Michael Hawkins coming in for visits this weekend. Danny's got a write-up also. Steve Wiltfong. Steve Wiltfong, our national recruiting director, has a write-up with quotes from Josh Flowers talking about the visit coming up this weekend. So that's pretty strong. Pretty strong. Ozarks Go is strong. Ozarks Go will not let you down. I've used Ozarks Go for the last almost 18 months now. I was trying to decide who do I go with for an internet service provider when I moved because I've been disappointed with my last three. They drop. They keep raising prices and all that stuff. And Ozarks Go it's been perfect because you know why? I don't ever think about these guys. I never think about them. I sign up, and I haven't thought about them since two nice young men came and installed it in my house, and I don't go upstairs and unplug it from the router over and over again. Honey, what's going on with the internet? Honey, Dad, why my phone won't work? None of that. It just works, 100% uptime. They offer two speeds, 100 megabits per second, up and down. That's really fast. That's way faster than anything you were getting, 7 years ago. So super good speed for most people. I use 1,000 megabits per second because it's like that, and I upload a lot of stuff. If you want instant speeds, it's a great price. You're going to pay the same price for year 1 and year 2. If you need to talk to somebody on the phone, you can call them at 479-684-4900, and you're going to talk to somebody local. You're going to talk to one of your neighbors. You're not getting shipped off to some call center. Northeast Oklahoma. And think north of the tunnel in northwest Arkansas in terms of availability. You can go to ozarksgo.net/hawg, HAWG, ozarksgo.net/hawg, HAWG, and check availability there. You'll see the icon or the 3 bars where you can drop down a menu and find out more information. But wouldn't be talking about these guys if I didn't fully support them. Same goes with Robertson Jewelry. I really, truly think it's the finest jewelry store in Arkansas, and it's really disappointing that it's kind of a bittersweet moment. Obviously, you move on, but both of these companies are outstanding. So, I want to make sure we mention those two. All right, Arkansas basketball plays Fordham. Latest on Nick Smith? There is no latest. He's day to day. Nothing's changed there. Kind of what I'm thinking. So those of you who don't know, he's got a bit of a knee issue. He missed the last game. And for those who don't know further, he's the number 1 ranked recruit in the country last year and is at Arkansas. So not expecting him to play this week. I don't think he'll play in the next game. What is that, Monday or Tuesday? They're all 5 days apart. But these first 3 games, I just don't think you're going to see him in any of these. And hopefully we'll see him for Maui. Now, talking to Curtis actually has a background in training. And, what he was telling me, if it's an MCL, we don't know that's what it is. It could be something else. But if it's an MCL, there's 3 stages. There's 3 grades. There's a grade 1, looking at about a week. There's a grade 2, which we see a lot, pretty common in football. I'm more familiar with. Usually see about 6 weeks for that. And then there's a grade 3, which would mean out for the season. I don't think we're dealing with 2 or 3 here. And that's because I don't see him in any kind of brace. Usually you see a brace or something. And he was, on the sidelines, normal clothes, no brace or anything. So to me, if that's what it is, I'm thinking maybe a grade 1 or just something lighter that they really feel they need to rest here. So Bellarmine. Maybe somebody can correct me in the comments below, but I'm not sure how to pronounce them. But they beat Louisville, who Arkansas plays in the first game in Maui. Kenny Payne's season opening clunker draws national media reaction. You can read that on HawgSports.com, but there's a lot of people giving. Louisville hasn't been off to, I believe they dropped an exhibition game as well. to like Lenore Ryan. I'm not even sure if I'm saying that right. Don't question my morals, please. Bellarmine's home arena is Louisville's old home arena, but I think Bellarmine's new other home arena is also the Yum Center. That's from Matt Norlander with CBS. So, yeah, interesting developments. So Arkansas basketball schedule coming up. Obviously, they beat North Dakota State 76-58 in their opener. They play Fordham Friday, 7 o'clock. That game is on SEC Network Plus. That means it's not on your regular channel guide. You need to go to your computer, to the ESPN app, on your phone or on your streaming device, Apple TV, Roku, Fire Stick, or something like that, because it's not going to show up on your normal channel guide. However, you need your login credentials from whatever service you get, whether it's Cox or Comcast, DirecTV, Dish Network, YouTube TV, Hulu Live, whatever it is. You're going to need those login credentials. As long as you get SEC Network, then you can get access to SEC Network Plus, but it's streaming only. So Fordham Friday, November 11th, and then Wednesday, I was wrong on both of those. Wednesday, November 16th, South Dakota State. Well, North Dakota State action to open. Well, South Dakota State to round things out before things get really busy with the Maui Invitational. That's November 21st. It's a Monday. November 22nd, Tuesday. So Louisville, then they play Texas Tech or Creighton, and then Wednesday it's to be announced. Fun times getting started. We had a busy day yesterday. Yesterday we had Dave Van Horn. Or no, we had Sam Pitt. No, excuse me, back up further. 10 o'clock we had a teleconference with Brian Kelly. 10:40 we had a teleconference with Sam Pittman. 11:30 we had a press conference with Dave Van Horn. 2 o'clock we had a Zoom press conference with Sam Pittman, and at the same time as that, there was a Zoom press conference with Eric Musselman. So quite a busy day. Betting odds right now. The latest odds we're seeing right now for Arkansas and LSU is -3. I mean, that's like a come-on bet. They want you to bet LSU. Why? It feels like it should be bigger, doesn't it? I mean, all the money's got to be going on LSU. Why isn't that line jumping up? Is it because LSU played their best game and Arkansas just played their worst game and they're going back to Fayetteville? I mean, this just screams Vegas likes Arkansas for some reason and wants you to bet LSU. Are we forgetting everything that's happened? I want to get into this more, my thoughts on where things are with Arkansas, but I want to get to Glen here in just a second, so I'm going to run through this real quick. The ESPN FPI gives LSU a 72.4% chance of beating Arkansas. That's the ESPN FPI. All right. Let's get to Glen. Where you at, Glen? So you may not be familiar with Glen West. You can follow him if you're interested in LSU coverage at Glen, Glen West 21 on Twitter. He's a senior writer for Go 24/7. That's GEAUX. Glen, how you doing, man?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing really good, really good. Looking forward to this matchup with LSU on Saturday. And Glen, I just wanted to get some of your thoughts on just your overall, overarching opinion on where these two programs stand right now as we get ready for Saturday.
Yeah, so for LSU, I feel like they're in pretty rarefied air in terms of just quick turnarounds and just how this rebuild has gone so far for Brian Kelly. Really impressive last 3 weeks in particular with wins over Florida, Ole Miss, and most recently against Alabama. Just really program-shifting, program-defining wins that really has LSU now really on the brink of the SEC West champs and competing for an SEC championship. I mean, if you had sat here and told me that a month ago when they were getting the brakes blown off by Tennessee. There is not a soul in Baton Rouge that would have believed you. But it's been a pretty quick turnaround, and just watching from a distance, it looks like Arkansas is in a little bit of a rut this year in terms of just consistency. I know they have one of the top rushing attacks in the country, so that's something that LSU is going to have to really be on the lookout for this weekend, and what's probably going to be a pretty cold environment. So it's going to be a challenge. This is a LSU team that's expecting this to be a really formidable challenge for them, and it's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out.
Isn't it ironic how early in the season, before the season started, everybody was talking about what a terrible fit Brian Kelly was. Not me. I always felt when they hired Brian Kelly, I was like, damn, that guy can coach regardless of whether you think he's a fit or not. But we're talking about what a terrible fit Brian Kelly is for LSU, but what a great fit Sam Pittman was. And now look at where the two programs are.
It's funny that you mention it, because if you just look at fit, was there a better fit for LSU than Ed Orgeron? A Louisiana guy who came in and was a player's coach and knew this state backward and forwards, and he had the one really just special season there and kind of teetered the last couple of years. So I think what it really comes down to is, fit is about winning, and winning changes everything. And that's how, that's something Brian Kelly's done at every stop he's been at. He has a structure that's worked for him throughout his career. And now he's bringing it to the SEC. And I think the biggest thing for him is he's such a good delegator. He's so good at hiring the right people around him to reach the players on an everyday basis. And I think that's what you're really starting to see with this LSU team. The trust and the buy-in level has really reached another level in the last 3-4 weeks.
Glen West joining us again. You can follow him at Glen West, GlenWest 21 on Twitter. He's the Go 24/7 senior writer and does a fantastic job over there covering the LSU Tigers. So, Glenn, what's the latest with LSU's injury? Are there any suspensions also? But what's the latest with the injury report? Anybody coming back that has been out, or anybody expected to be out that's going to be key?
Yeah, so that's one of the good things about LSU's kind of outlook right now is they are relatively healthy. They lost Mason Smith, the big defensive lineman, on the very first drive of the very first series this year. But that's been really the only significant injury they have. They just got back their safety, Major Burns, who was out with a neck injury. John Emery played in the Alabama game. He was dealing with a little bit of an Achilles injury. And then Jack Besh, one of their receivers, was on the field after kind of suffering a little bit of a back strain. So they're pretty healthy. The one guy that they're not going to have back for this game is cornerback Sevin Banks. But he's a guy who's missed a lot of time this year with injury, and I think he was suspended the first couple of games of the season as well. So LSU, they're very fit. They're very healthy right now as they enter this final 3-game stretch, and they're playing with a lot of confidence and a lot of momentum.
So this is the first turncoat game, as I like to call it, for Arkansas and LSU. Arkansas has 2 former LSU players. LSU has 2 former Arkansas players. How big have Greg Brooks and Joe Fouché been? Which Joe Fouché's deal was super weird because he graduated, but he was on a 4-game academic suspension, so I didn't understand that. But how big have those 2 guys been for LSU secondary?
Yeah, so there was some mix-up, I guess, with the paperwork with Fouché that caused him to miss, those first 4 games of the season. A really kind of bizarre circumstance, but he's been really good the last couple weeks. He really had to kind of play himself back into, game speed and all that. So he kind of struggled his first couple games back in the rotation, but he was fantastic against Alabama, really strong against Ole Miss. And has been really a pretty consistent leader for them throughout all of his, even his absence. He's been a pretty vocal leader, a guy that they've really relied on in that respect. And, Greg Brooks has been kind of that thumper in the secondary. He is a hard hitter. He is a playmaker. He can, really make some stuff happen in terms of game-changing plays. And he's been reliable. He's been their starting safety since game 1. They've used him a lot. They've kind of spread them out all over the field. They've gotten him closer to the line of scrimmage, and he's been able to make some plays, and he's been a really great pickup. So I think it was one of those win-win situations. LSU obviously lost Dwight McLaughlin, who was, I think, one of the top corners in the conference. But they gained a couple of veteran safeties that they really needed, and they're really having some success this year.
Speaking of gaining people, Jaden Daniels, I'm not sure how this team looks without Jaden Daniels. I mean, what an impact he's had.
Yeah. So I am right there with you. I mean, 3 weeks ago, this was a guy who was taking a lot on the chin in terms of his inefficiency and lack of aggression downfield, and he completely reversed it in the last 3 games against Florida, Ole Miss, and Alabama. He has been so dominant. He's had well over 1,000 yards between the run and the pass in these last 3 games. He's combined for 14 touchdowns in that span as well. I think he's really, thrown himself into the Heisman conversation in these last 3 games. I mean, he's not obviously, I think, going to be on the front list or the top list, but he should be in the conversation the way that he's helped turn this program around in such a short amount of time. And if LSU keeps playing the way they have offensively, he's going to continue to pile those numbers up and even make a stronger case as the regular season draws to a close.
Yeah, LSU has given up quite a number of sacks and TFLs, obviously against Alabama and Will Anderson. I know he got back there. That's just going to happen. But is this a product of maybe the 2 freshman tackles, or why has LSU given up so many TFLs and sacks this year?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it has to do with continuity. This was a brand new offensive line this year. They have no returning starters on this group. And they had 6 different lineup rotations in the first 7 games. So there was really no time to build that continuity on the field. And it really wasn't until the last couple of weeks where they've had some really consistent rotations. And those guys are really performing well these last couple of weeks. The pocket's been clean for Jaden. They've started to get some push up front and open up some running lanes. They're getting into a lot of second down and third down and short situations, which really opens up the offense and has allowed Daniels to be a little bit more creative with how he operates downfield. So the offensive line has been probably one of the most improved groups as the season's gone along. And, those 2 true freshmen, the amount of experience those guys are getting right now and the play that they're distributing out on the field has been really, really special.
Is Garrett? Is it Dellinger? Is that how you say it? He's
Dellinger.
back. Are they going to have another offensive line combination this week? Because he's back. I mean, is he going to slide back into the left guard spot, or what do you think they're going to do?
He'll be in the rotation. I don't know that he'll immediately slide back into that starting spot just because of how good this line has looked the last couple of weeks. I don't think you got to really mess with it all that much. And I think he's going to be really good for depth. They got Miles Frazier, who's a transfer from FIU at left guard. They've got Anthony Bradford at right guard, who's a veteran. He's been around the program for a while. But Garrett's a guy that they can move around. He's taken snaps at center. He's played at guard. He's played at tackle. So he's kind of a Swiss Army knife guy that they can use to throw in there as kind of a spell in terms of just getting guys rest and getting guys just a couple extra breathers, within the series. So he'll be used, but I'm not sure he'll be used, as a starter or anything like that.
I've been to Tiger Stadium numerous times. And I've been there at night also. There's not a better pregame intro than talking about Tiger Stadium. It's haunted, cannon blast, all that stuff. My favorite line, I think, is the chance of rain is never.
Never.
I love that.
Never.
But this game's in Fayetteville. It's 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a bigger high emotional that you can get than playing Alabama, a night game in Tiger Stadium. But this game, it's a turnaround from that. It's 11 o'clock. It's on the road. Obviously, the emotions are going to be a little bit different for this one. How do you see this? How do you see this one playing out? And can LSU replicate what they had, the energy that they had against Alabama?
Yeah, it's something they absolutely have to be aware of. You look at this game on paper, and LSU is the team that should win this game. But this is a classic trap game. I mean, we throw that term around the media a lot. But, look, Arkansas has played LSU really tight the last couple of years. They won that game last year. Sam Pittman has a pretty good success rate against LSU these last couple of years. He's played them really tight. KJ Jefferson is a no nonsense quarterback. He's a guy that's a little bit different from the quarterbacks LSU's faced this year. Definitely more of a powerful runner, a guy that they're going to have to wrap up and force east and west instead of north and south. And so it's going to be a really crucial matchup, but this is the kind of game that you brought in Brian Kelly for. Brian Kelly's won 17 straight games in November, and he always seems to have his teams playing at their best at this time of the year. LSU is certainly is certainly on that kind of run this year as well, and they have to just keep the focus, and they have to keep the focus on what it is they know they can now accomplish. What's in front of them is a chance for an SEC title and an SEC championship appearance. So you got to take this one game at a time, though, and Arkansas is definitely an opponent that's going to not lose LSU's focus this weekend.
Okay, real quick, Glenn, score prediction. Arkansas is +3 in this one, last line I've seen. Does that line surprise you, first of all, and what do you think the score is going to be?
Yeah, that line did surprise me, but I think it kind of builds into that classic trap game adage. I think this is certainly a time and in conditions that could certainly rustle some feathers with LSU if they're not careful. So I do expect this to be a relatively close game. I have LSU probably winning in the 35-30 range, 35-28 range. I just think that Arkansas is a really potent rushing attack. LSU's been pretty solid against the run this year, but the one thing that they haven't been able to do as consistently is wrap up and tackle. And so if KJ Jefferson, if the running back, I think his name's Sanders, right? Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If he can break,
you can just call him Rocket.
Rocket.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if he can break out and have some big games, I think Arkansas can be able to move the sticks this weekend. So it's going to be a really interesting battle, but I do expect LSU to come out with a win.
Glenn, really appreciate you coming on, and I guess we'll look forward to your coverage after the game.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, Glenn. All right, that's Glen West. You may not know it from the picture. Glenn goes about 6'10", by the way. Maybe the tallest guy in the network, maybe the tallest sports writer out there. But an interesting point, will LSU have a letdown this weekend? Because I can tell you right now, Ozarks Go will never let you down. My experience is 100% uptime. That's never being let down, rapid speeds. And I always know that if I ever had any kind of problem, if I ever needed to call them, which I never have, but if you had to move or something like that, move your service or something, you need to call them at 479-684-4900, then you're going to talk to somebody local, one of your neighbors in the area. Northeast Oklahoma, Northwest Arkansas, think north of the tunnel. If you get a bill from Ozarks Electric, then you definitely are going to have access to Ozarks Go and maybe beyond that. But you can also reach out to them and say, because they're ever expanding, you can say, hey, really want you in my area. I've had 3 different internet service providers before I found Ozarks Go, and I've been with them the last 18 months, well before I started doing these promotions for them, because I wouldn't be doing these promotions if I didn't believe in what they offer. Go to ozarksgo.net/hawg, HAWG, and you can find out more about them. ozarksgo.net/hawg. I'll leave a description. I'll leave all that information in the description below, so you can find their phone number and click on the link to check them out online. They offer 100 megabits per second up and down, and 1,000 megabits per second up and down. They're not going to increase your price from year 1 to year 2 or anything like that. They're not going to try to trick you or any of that kind of stuff. Just a good, solid local company that you can believe in with the Trey Biddy stamp of approval. ozarksgo.net/hawg, HAWG. We're going to go to Andrew Ellis. The man, Andrew Ellis. Man, Andrew's been doing a great job. He was a busy dude yesterday covering football, basketball, baseball, helping us in every aspect. Been really pleased with Andrew's coverage. He does a little bit of everything for us, a lot of everything, I should say.
What's going on?
Andrew, my man. Not much. How you doing?
I'm doing a lot better than I was this time yesterday. You mentioned it earlier in the show, but yeah, that was a lot yesterday.
Yeah, it was. They really piled it on us. That just happens sometimes. You won't have anything going on one day, and then the next day you got 5 interviews to do. So you've been looking at this LSU defense. What do you see from these guys overall, Andrew? We'll just jump right into it.
Well, it's interesting. When you think of LSU, especially football, a lot of times you think of just so much NFL talent. I mean, they've been better at producing NFL guys than anyone in the league probably. And, they just always have so much talent. And, some years they underachieve, some years they put it all together. But it's kind of interesting. This LSU defense is not your typical LSU defense that has all these first-round picks and these guys that are in the secondary, your Derek Stingley's and all that. There's a lot of transfers. One guy's from an FCS team in McNeese, and a couple of them obviously Arkansas fans are familiar with. But, this defense, dare I say, is overachieving, which is something I really never thought I'd say about an LSU team. But, they just have they have a few, guys in the front seven, and B.J. Ojolari and the freshman Harold Perkins who are really talented. But, they're just kind of piecing it together and doing what they need to get wins each week. They're kind of, like I said, overachieving to this point in the season. But, it's just been a really solid, found a groove lately.
Andrew Ellis joining us again. You can follow Andrew at Andrew Ellis 24/7 on Twitter and read all of his content at HawgSports.com, HawgSports.com. Andrew, what do you think needs to happen at quarterback? I mean, we've talked about this so much, but last week it feels like we went through this with KJ not being able to practice much, and then, is he ready by game time? He's ready, and then he gets in there. He's out of sync. He's not 100% clearly, maybe not 75%. And I just thought he really struggled. To me, let's not repeat the same problem twice. If he's not ready to go and he hasn't been able to practice fully all week, I think you got to go with Malik Hornsby. Having said that, I don't know that they can beat LSU without a healthy KJ Jefferson.
No, I'm with you on all fronts there. I mean, last week, it kind of came out of nowhere. We just started hearing pregame, KJ might not play in this game. He's been banged up. It's going to be a game time decision. And, as soon as the game started, it was clear. He's clearly not 100%. He's not right. And I know he made some plays down the stretch in the fourth quarter, but it seemed like he was kind of just willing it into existence. Yeah. And, credit to KJ because, he's a fighter. He's a gamer. He wanted to be out there. And Pittman said as much yesterday that, he wants to be back. It's bothering him to not be able to practice and things of that nature. But,
things of that nature.
Said,
we listen to him too much, man. I catch Curtis saying, to be honest with you, all the time.
I'm well versed on my coach cliches, but it's rubbing off on me a little bit, transcribing it so much. But,
I know.
Yeah, like you said, I don't think you want to repeat that. I think that it would be a bad look simply to have 2 weeks in a row where you have a quarterback who is clearly not 100% healthy. And in the Liberty game, you could argue it might have cost you that game. And I just, obviously I think, you want to beat LSU. You want to play your best quarterback, especially if he's cleared to play. But, at some point, I just think that it's tough to do that. And if you keep doing it, are you just going to do that the rest of the year? Is the first time we see KJ healthy, would that be in a hypothetical bowl game, which, again, we're not 100% sure they're going to? So it just seems odd to me. But, who knows? I'm not a doctor. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I don't know what KJ did at practice yesterday and what he's going to do today and tomorrow. But, it seems to me like it's trending toward Malik Hornsby playing. Just reading, that's not an insider or anything. That's just kind of reading between the lines here of I think they understand that they probably should have went with Malik last week. I think that in the moment they were like, hey, our guy's healthy. Let's just roll with him. But I think they saw what happened, and I think they probably know that it wasn't the best thing to do. And so, I'll be, interested to see how it plays out. But, Pittman made it seem like they're kind of preparing for the possibility of playing without KJ.
He could also be taking a page from Hugh Freeze, who basically said his quarterback that played Saturday had the flu. If you have the flu, you're not playing. I don't care.
Now, I'm all for gamesmanship until it's to the point where Jaden Hazelwood is at the post-game press conference saying he didn't know who was playing quarterback up until the game started. That's where it's probably a little – it's almost counterproductive at that point. But
I'm wondering how much intel, though. I'm wondering how much intel Hugh Freeze and the Liberty staff had on KJ, because they were just coming – they were almost like, we're not worried about you throwing the ball, unless you try to throw it deep. But they were just coming after the run so much. So I wonder how much intel they had.
Well, it's interesting, and LSU's defense is comparing it to Liberty. Liberty was so aggressive up front, and generates so many tackles for loss. I think coming into the game last week, they were averaging 9 tackles for loss a game as a defense, which is an unreal mark, and they even went above that against Arkansas. So I think that Arkansas's run game, regardless of who's playing quarterback, should be in for a slightly better matchup, which is crazy to say considering they played Liberty last week. Mm-hmm. But I do think that they should be able to get the ground game going a little bit better than they did last week for sure. And LSU's had some promising performances on the run defense front. They really shut down Ole Miss, which is the best run offense in the SEC. But I think this is a matchup that Arkansas can get some things going on the ground, and in a cold environment with some uncertainty at quarterback, they just have to do that. Yeah. And they needed to do that last week, and they were never able to get it going. So we'll see if they can turn that around this week.
It doesn't matter, I guess, who they start at quarterback if the offensive line plays as shoddy as they thought I was going to say something else, didn't you? If they play as shoddy as they did last week, they've got to play better. They were just completely. You talk about being out of sync at quarterback. Offensive line just was not a unit.
Absolutely, and it will. Maybe that changes this week with with KJ, whether he's practiced or not, or whether they go with Malik, who has practiced. We'll see if the continuity is there, and we'll see if there's some shuffling along the offensive line. I know Pittman mentioned the possibility of Tykees Crawford playing, and it's going to be interesting to just see what kind of effort we get from this group overall. I mean, I know we talk all the time about how this team seemed like there was no fire, there was a lack of motivation, and the team pretty much admitted as much after the game. But it's always a little bit of a red flag for me when any team in any sport is saying, "Oh no, we're good." We kind of that was an off week, or we'll get up when we need to get up, and that's always a red flag to me. But like we've said it a few times now this season, like if they don't bring the effort and the intensity this week, then I just don't know if it's ever coming out.
Yeah, you get 12 opportunities, Andrew. You get 12 opportunities. You can't get up from one. I mean,
absolutely, and you only get a few at home. And I know that this one's at 11 a.m. and it's going to be cold, but you're at home against a top 10 team, a rival, a team that you really want to beat, the team that's number one in the West. Like it's go time. Like this is it's put up or shut up right now, and so it's going to be interesting to see the vibes with this team going forward.
I'd really appreciate Simeon Blair and Trey Knox, because I asked them, a very pointed question, because the narrative is like, those guys are my brothers, talking about Greg Brooks and Joe Fouché, glad to see they're having success. And I was just like, but what about when they told you? Were you not like, dude, what are you doing? You're going to leave us? Like I can understand Landon Jackson and Dwight McGlothern transferring in the middle of a coaching change. That makes sense, right? But you're starting at an SEC program and you're going to go play for the enemy? And I know they're your hometown, but there has to be some level of like, dude, what the hell? I think that's going to be a real interesting dynamic with those guys on the other side, because as they also said, they're going to be trying to prove, hey, we made the right decision. We made the right choice. Here's why. And at the same time, Landon Jackson and Dwight McGlothern are going to be doing the same thing.
No, absolutely. I'm with you there. And, I've thought about this a lot. And obviously we talked about this, a lot when it was happening in the offseason. But it's almost like I don't even as much have a fault or a problem with Brooks or Fouché and what they did. It's like you're kind of entitled to do whatever you want. I'm not going to sit here and tell these athletes what they should and shouldn't do. But if you're their teamate, I feel like it should rub you the wrong way, at least on some level. And I think that was kind of the most surprising thing to me, is that we never heard any inkling of that, of anyone. There was, of all the people we've talked to in the media and all the people we've talked to, nobody's just come right out and said, no, that kind of sucked. I wish they hadn't have done that. It's kind of intriguing to me that, and maybe they feel that way behind closed doors. And obviously you don't expect Sam Pittman to come out and bash former players or anything like that. But, I'm with you there. Like, I'm kind of wondering how much, true fight this team is going to have this weekend. And if there's going to have a little bit of that, here's another cliche for you, Trey, that chip on your shoulder. Yeah. We'll see if they can get that chip right back on their shoulder, like Pittman loves to say.
What's going to happen Saturday, Andrew? You got a score prediction?
I haven't. I'm gonna have to come up with my score prediction here in a few minutes here in a few hours here. But
tell me where you're zeroing in on something. You got a couple numbers in your mind, but you know what you want to do.
Well, look, here's my whole stance on this whole thing. Is you mentioned a lot of good points earlier about how like this is honestly one of the more obvious upset picks. Like Vegas is begging you to take this LSU line. It's LSU's coming off a huge win, a monumental win for their program under Brian Kelly, like kind of a signature win for this season. Arkansas is coming off by far their worst performance this season, kind of a loss that sets them back. So you imagine that you're going to get a very motivated Arkansas team versus an LSU team that, is probably as high as they're going to be all year. And it's going to be freezing cold, and it's going to be in Fayetteville. And it's kind of Arkansas can clinch bowl eligibility. Like, there's a lot of signs pointing to we're going to get a better version of Arkansas and potentially a worse version of LSU. And statistically, if you look at these teams, like, I was kind of surprised when I dove into the numbers that, like, LSU, as good as they've been all year, it's not like their statistical resume is just overwhelming. It's not like
they're not
so
bad in any area. They're not really excellent in any area. They're just kind of
right
down the
they're
pipe.
Not turning the ball over. They're taking care of business. They're moving the chains. They're good on third downs. They're good defensively in the red zone. But it's not like this team is just dripping with overwhelming talent. Like, this isn't like a Georgia of last year or anything like that, where it's like hard for Arkansas to overcome. So all of those signs point to, hey, maybe this game's going to be closer than we think. All that being said, I just can't imagine Arkansas wins this game. I mean, there's just too many weird things going on, to put it, as bluntly as I can. Like, there's just so many question marks and red flags that probably shouldn't be there in early November. It just seems like there's too much uncertainty, and I just simply don't know what version of Arkansas I'm going to get. And so I have a hard time believing that they're going to randomly put it all together against arguably the best team in the West.
It could be like one of those fake come-on bets, like it's like the line's 3.5. You can't believe it, And so, but I think maybe people are like, this is exactly what Vegas wants me to think, because you would think the line starts off at 3.5. It's going to go up, right? Everybody's going to be putting money on LSU, but the last I saw it is at 3, which would indicate the opposite. So maybe people are like, I see what you're trying to get me to do, Vegas. I'm going to go the other way. I know what I don't know.
Well, now that the entire world is gambling, maybe we're starting to kind of figure these things out, and we're starting to know what's going on here. But also, I want to give one last quick shout out to our beloved coworker Danny West, and I'm gonna give him a shout out because I'm about to steal his point that he made in our group message earlier in the week. That all week, Arkansas has not. It's not like it's cold here right now. I mean, we're in Fayetteville. Right. It's not cold outside. I mean, all week it's been sunny. It's been 70 some days, and even in the night it's like high 60s. That differs from the 2014 game that everyone loves to reference, where Arkansas was able to beat LSU and beat them 17-0 in a game that was freezing, and it was freezing all week. So I think there was a lot of advantage for Arkansas in that matchup that I'm not 100% sure is going to be the same in this matchup, because I think the cold's going to affect Arkansas just as much as it's going to affect LSU, and it's not like Arkansas's had a week to get adapted to that.
Yeah, it's not like they're coming up to Wisconsin or something and Arkansas. They've been playing in the cold weather, all this time. So it's going to be new for everybody. Appreciate you, Andrew, man. Great job today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, everybody. That's Andrew Ellis. Again, follow him at Andrew Ellis 24/7 on Twitter. He's the HawgSports beat writer for all things Razorback athletics. Fantastic job. All right, we're going to get to a couple of questions here. Hey, one more time, I wanted to mention though. The family over at Robertson's going out of business. Robertson's Fine Jewelry in Little Rock going out of business after 42 years. It's bittersweet. It's bittersweet moment. I'm certainly happy for Steve and Trish, my in-laws. But what this means for you guys is there is a huge sale, their first ever sale. They've got to liquidate everything. So if you're looking for a diamond ring, a stone 3/4 carat to 6 carat, they've got all of that. Diamond bracelets, all this stuff. They're doing their engagement liquidation sale, and it ends Sunday, November 13th. That's at the Pleasant Ridge Town Center in Little Rock. It's off Cantrell Road, 11525 Cantrell Road, Suite 703 in Little Rock. This is a great opportunity. If you're like, it's engagement season, right? Like if you're thinking about getting engaged or you need Christmas present, go get a great deal from a jewelry store that's liquidating. This is it's a really, I know it's my in-laws and stuff, but dang, this is a great opportunity here. And they got to get rid of everything, right? So there's going to be some fantastic deals. Their hours of operation, Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 6, Sunday, 12 to 5. That's the last day, November 13th. So go check out Steve and Trish at Robertson's Fine Jewelry and Gifts in Pleasant Ridge Town Center in Little Rock. 42 years in business. I know my wife's super sad. It's all my wife's ever known, is them having the jewelry store. So it's a great opportunity. So go check them out. Here's a quick ad.
Robertson's Fine Jewelry Diamond Engagement Ring Blowout ends forever this Sunday, November 13th. Loose diamonds in a variety of cuts and all sizes, engagement rings and diamond bands too, all at liquidation prices. Don't miss the diamond deals of a lifetime.
I'm not going to lie, it makes me a little sad. It does. But I'm certainly happy for them at the same time. All right. Congratulations, Steve and Trish. And everybody who's there. Paris, Laura, I don't want to go mention everybody, but they've got some fantastic employees who I know love them as well, that I've gotten to know over the years too. So, Adrian Lim says, "Will this be the coldest game LSU has played this season? This will be the coldest game Arkansas and LSU have played this season." Let's see what the weather says right now. For Saturday, no rain, low of 25. At kickoff, it's going to be. At 10 a.m., it says it's going to be 33 degrees. At noon, it's going to be 40. By the time the game's over, it'll be about 44 degrees. Bring your jacket, bring your toboggan, bring your gloves. Somebody was giving me hell about my fingerless gloves in the walk and talk. Like, really, dude? Fingerless gloves? But there's method behind that. So I have to type, obviously. And if your knuckles get cold, it really, like your brain moves faster than your hands can move. It slows them up, so you got to keep your knuckles warm. Actually, started a trend several years ago in Arkansas media. I think it started with the Mississippi State game one year because they have an open-air press box. But I had the gloves on, and everybody was like, that's a good idea. So that's why I wear that. Another thing I wanted to address, on Halloween, I had a skeleton back here, and then I had these little incense things my wife got. My wife likes to smell good stuff. So I put a little incense stick in, and so I'd have like some creepy smoke going. And I had a couple people like going, dude, cigarette? That's unappealing. Like I'd have a cigarette burning for 40 minutes. I don't smoke. I don't even smoke cigars. I certainly didn't have a cigarette burning on air. Even if I did, it was just for the ambiance, the Halloween feel. I have a cigarette. So I can think of Bear Bryant in his old coaching shows just smoking a cigarette. Don't smoke, kids. Jason Fulfer says, Trey, talk about your take on the recruits that may be affected if there's a coaching change, such if Browse leave. Just curious. I mean, coaches change. You don't need to be picking schools based on assistant coaches. I don't know if there's going to be any turnover. Those guys have been here for a long time. I mean, you put it in perspective, Arkansas was one of 8 Power 5 programs entering the season to have all 3 coordinators returning. It's amazing to me, though, like how people's opinions have changed so quickly. I mean, I don't think this is true of most fans, and everybody's disappointed, pissed off. I get it. I am too. Very disappointed. But Kendall Browse was the man entering the season. Can't lose him to Miami. Got to keep him. Got to retain him. Barry Odom was the man. Sam Pittman, laid-back attitude, perfect fit for us culturally, all this kind of stuff's what everybody's saying. But now he's too laid back. He looks tired. It's amazing how you flip on it. It is almost like to the level of like how you'd react to like if you caught your spouse cheating on you. You love them and everything, and then they're the devil. That's how, I mean, it's amazing how quick people have just turned because things haven't gone exactly like you had hoped. And I'm not saying like you shouldn't be pissed or anything. You 100% should be. You should be mad about how things have turned out this year. I get it. I think they should have 2 more wins, 7-2. But it's amazing how you go from Sam Pittman is a national treasure. He's got all the some people bring iced tea, some people bring liquor. Love Sam Pittman to now you lose to Liberty. He needs to go. He needs to fire all his coordinators. And I need to be asking him, why haven't you fired everybody? I need to be standing up in the press conference because that's the hard question. That's the questions you want me to ask. If you want Sam Pittman to turn into Belichick and just not answer anything, then start doing that kind of stuff. I'm going to ask questions that I think are important. I'm going to ask pointed questions. I think I did that at the last press conference on Monday. But some people's idea of tough questions is, why do you suck? Why haven't you fired everybody? Why don't you get out of town? Those are the questions. Yeah, I'm upset too, but I also know how to be a professional and do my job the way I'm supposed to do it. It is amazing to me some of the attacks that I've had to, which are funny. I mean, I don't care. People who I've never met. That's something that's interesting also. Like, the only people that ever talk to me about the things that I do or the job that I do are people that come up to me and are very complimentary. Nobody has ever said some of the trollish BS, that comes at me on social media to my face. Nobody ever has, because they're clowns. All right, so they're not to be taken serious. Just like any of you guys, you should not be taking people serious who say stuff like that on Twitter, because it really just says a lot about them. Like, for me, I'm going to criticize Sam Pittman. I'm going to criticize players. And then on Monday, Tuesday, and whatnot, I'm going to go look those guys eye to eye and talk to them. Okay? Not a lot of people do that. There's a lot of people in media who are extremely critical. You know, I'm not just talking about Arkansas, but some people in Arkansas who never show their face. They'll rip somebody to shreds and you'll never see them again. For me, like when I was giving Chad Morris hell week after week, talking about how terrible he is, I also went and looked at him face to face and talked to him and asked him questions. Same with John Chavis. Face to face. Okay? You go do that. That's what I would say to anybody. If you want to say something to me that's awful, come talk to me. We'll see how that goes. Come say it to my face. You won't. Nobody ever does for 20 years. Trey, do you think KJ is going to play Saturday? I think Sam Pittman maybe took a little bit of a page from Hugh Freeze, but yeah, I think we might see both of them. I think KJ is going to be in better shape this week, personally. But I definitely think they should have gone with Malik last week. I don't know that they can beat LSU without a healthy KJ. I think that Malik can have some big plays. I just wonder about the consistency. And we don't know that. And that's something I asked Sam Pittman about yesterday also, how difficult it is to elevate somebody without them being Wally Pipped. Okay? Some of you are familiar with that expression. Lou Gehrig, Wally Pipp missed a game. Lou Gehrig came in and then started and then never missed a game for 2,000-something ridiculous number until Cal Ripken beat it. But that's called Wally Pipp. And it's difficult to move a guy up just based on what you see in practice on him, you know. Matt Jones is a guy that Houston Nutt said, we got to get that guy into the lineup, you know. It's hard to do that. There's a lot of people saying he's showing favoritism to this and that. And I just think it's difficult for coaches to make a change like that. But coaches want to play the best option. They want to play the guy that's going to get them to a win, no matter what. Justin Hoofman says, I still believe in this program, and they have a lot to play for. Being you're closer to the program, what are your honest thoughts on the state of the football program to this point? This point, I think that they have underachieved overall. I think from a talent perspective, and now they've had a lot of issues. They've had a lot of injuries. Really, the things that you say cannot happen. You can't get your quarterback banged up, and he's been dealing with stuff all year. Decimated in the secondary. Bumper Pool's been beat up. You know, you're talking about some of your leaders losing Jalen Catalon, an All-American. They've had a lot of issues. Okay, the offensive line to me didn't really have any excuse to play as poorly as they did last week. Okay, that was a major flaw. You can lose SEC games. You just shouldn't be losing out of conference. That's actually the first non-conference game Pittman has lost. But we'll see how things come together here, see if they can bounce back. I think you win a lot of people over if you can finish, 3-0 these next three. And it's still possible. It's still possible, but they have to play with better fire. They have to play better on the offensive line. KJ's got to get healthy. The energy level is not what it should be with this team. And I think a lot of that has to do with injuries and, some of your leaders not being healthy. Let's see. Logan Ray says, need to play with pride for one. Need that swagger and energy back. Need all three of those things on Saturday. It'll be interesting to see the crowd, too. It's a cold game. It's a big opponent against LSU coming off a loss to Liberty. It's going to be cold. What's the crowd going to look like? I mean, we're probably talking under 70, right? Secondary has to play at its best, as Steve Miller. Landon Montgomery says, just never thought I'd see a flat team with no fight under Pittman. Seems like we lost that dog in us we had last year. It does feel like that a little bit. Like I've said before, Grant Morgan would never have allowed the energy level to be what it is. Landon says, is KJ playing, Trey? What do you think? Should he play? I think we'll see both. All right. I see a lot of questions on here, but we're running out of time. Norman Hunt, we'll get out of this one. Norman Hunt says, this firing coaches midseason needs to stop. That will guarantee a losing season. And if you end the season, and if at the end of the season you want to make some changes, cool, but Briles and Odom will be a head coach somewhere else next year. I'm not sure on that. Okay, everybody. Thanks for joining me. Go check out our friends at Ozarks Go, and be sure to also go check out Robertson's in Little Rock, Pleasant Ridge Town Center in Little Rock. Again, that ends Sunday, November 13th. There's going to be some ridiculously low prices on what would otherwise be very expensive jewelry and very nice jewelry. I've always thought that they have the nicest jewelry store in the state of Arkansas, so bittersweet moment for them, but congratulations to Steve and Trish, and go check them out. You'll be happy that you did. Find a nice present for your wife or your husband or whoever's involved in your life. Your mom, you want to get your mom a ring? Who knows? All right, everybody. Thanks for joining me. Appreciate Glen West from Go 24/7 for jumping on with us. Does a great job over there. Check out his content. And, of course, Andrew Ellis with us at HawgSports, our guy over there. All right, everybody. Next time I'll be talking to you, be walking outside of Reynolds Razorback Stadium, bundled up, toboggan, coat. It'll be freezing cold. And maybe talking about a win. Who knows? Who knows what to expect, but we'll all be watching, won't we? All right, everybody. Thanks for joining me. This has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, and we'll catch you next time.